This is not the baby S-Class or mini S-Class as some might call it, because this is the S-Class. Well, actually it is the E-Class, the 6th generation E-Class that has landed here in India in its standard long wheelbase version. Now, fun fact, the 6th generation E-Class, it goes by the code name W214, but this long wheelbase version, it has a code name of V214. And India is only the second country to get this long wheelbase version after China. More fun fact, the E-Class won't be available with a coupe or convertible body style anymore with this 6th generation, because that banner has been taken up by a new nameplate, the CLE Class. Now the CLE Class is also available in India in the open top version. More fun fact, the E-Class internationally is also available with a station wagon, but India, it won't get that body style. Well, facts aside, you might be wondering why I call this E-Class as the S-Class in the beginning. Well, let me tell you an answer to that throughout the course of this video. Welcome back to Car and Bike. I'm Bilal, and if you haven't already subscribed to the Car and Bike YouTube channel, do consider subscribing it and hit that bell icon as well so that you can be notified every time we upload a new informative video such as this. Now on paper, in terms of dimension, this 6th generation E-Class has grown in size. And that's bound to happen with every new generation, right? But let me tell you that this generation of E-Class is almost as big as the previous generation S-Class. In fact, it is also bigger than the W221 generation of S-Class. So this new mid-size German sedan, it's almost as big as the flagship German sedan from a few years ago. Now, in terms of design, let me compare this E-Class with a middle-aged man. Just for comparison's sake, just bear with me. Now, after the 3rd generation, the W212 E-Class, it was like a college-going boy who just graduated and entered the college world, was lean and fit and very sharp-looking. Then after a few years of sedentary lifestyle, the previous generation E-Class, it got bulges and curves in all the right places. Now, after a few years of that sedentary lifestyle, this generation of E-Class, or that middle-aged man, it realized that it won't cut it anymore. So it hit the gym and started working out. And with this 6th generation, it is more leaner and meaner looking, don't you think? Not only the S-Class has inspired the new E's design, there is also inspiration from the electric EQ lineup. The grille and the headlamps, for example, are very similar, and if it wasn't for the small cut or the recess at the bottom, the entire shape and style of the headlamp is exactly the same as the one seen in the EQE sedan. Even the door handles now pop out in the same manner as they do in the electric derivative. On the upside, the long wheelbase doesn't determine the sedan's proportions either. Moreover, the 18-inch alloy wheels fill up the arches well and don't look too small for the sedan's overall size. At the back, it takes design cues from the S-Class as well. The tail lamps are similarly shaped with a chrome strip running on top. More chrome treatment are seen on the bumpers, window line and on the side skirts as well. Inside the S-Class like tail lamps are Mercedes' 3-pointed star motif, which may be likable to some but does look a bit tacky at times. There are 5 color options to choose from, but only one alloy wheel design for now before the sportier versions are offered. Now on the inside, this generation of E-Class, it has undergone a massive change. But let me compare it with the S-Class first, because as I said, this is an S-Class but better. Now because the S-Class, it gets a massive screen in the center. But here in the E-Class, it's inspired more from the EQ lineup. Now if you don't know, the EQ lineup, that is the electric vehicle lineup in the Mercedes, they offer a hyper screen. They have a massive dashboard laid out with just screen, 3 massive screens laid out on the dashboard. Here you get a similar one, but here it's called the super screen, like the hypercar, and then there's a supercar, you get the drift. Now the super screen, it gets a passenger screen separate, which is again uses the same interface as the center screen. It's just the driver's display that's a floating unit and not a part of the hyper screen. That's why the super screen. Now a passenger screen and a dashboard inspired by the EQ lineup, doesn't this make it better than the S-Class in your opinion? If it does, let us know in the comment section below. Now coming to the screen itself, it gets the familiar MBUX system, but this MBUX, it's the most advanced one yet. The 3rd generation MBUX has more connectivity, slightly better looking app interface, and it also has Now, the modern age connectivity with third-party apps and the inbuilt navigation with 3D function and the connect car to X connectivity, which tells you up ahead traffic depending on other cars which have already been through that. It also has an AI assisted feature where you can personalize certain functions which are convenient to you, and the car will perform it for you like a butler every single time. It uses various car functions like seat control, AC vents, ambient lighting, sound system, and sunroof to create a routine environment that fits your preference. For example, if the outside temperature drops drastically, it will sense it and will adjust the AC temperature accordingly and change the ambient light to warm orange. Again, this is a function that is yet to be offered in the S-Class. More party pieces of this MBUX apart from the new update and the third-party apps is that you can actually stream videos on this screen, the massive screens that's laid out here. But more importantly, it has this new age feature which is becoming a norm these days. We saw it in the 5 series as well, and it's present here as well. And that's a camera mounted atop this dashboard. Now this selfie camera, it's a dashboard camera, but it's focused on the inside. Now you can take selfie photos, but more importantly, that camera can be also used to attend video calls, to attend your meetings while sitting inside the car. Of course, the car needs to be stationary for that. But I think that is a bit counterproductive because most of the owners who are willing to do a business meeting in this car wants to do it on the move, and they might be sitting in the back seat, not in front. So the camera provided here, it's more of a gimmick than actual usability. Now, party pieces aside, this is a Mercedes-Benz cabin, right? So everything here, it's comfortable, it feels luxurious, opulent even. The material is top-notch. The build quality doesn't give you a reason to complain. Even this open pore material here, I first thought that it might not feel in place right here in the Mercedes cabin, but the texture and the feel of it, it feels really good. The soft touch material all around, the design, the ergonomics, this is a good place to be in. But the owner of this car would be spending most of the time in the back seat. So let's hop in there and see what it's like. Now, the biggest advantage that comes with the long wheelbase version is the space on offer here in the second row, because the space that you get here, it's almost as good as some of the older generation S-Class. It's almost as good as the current S-Class even, because as I said earlier, this E is as good as the S, because of all the features that you get from the previous generation S-Class is offered here. Some feel-good features such as a rear screen, infotainment screen, or the tablet to control the functions, that's missing, but again, that's a gimmick in my opinion. We'll get to it later, but the space on offer here. This front seat, it's set to the most comfortable, the most reclined angle the front passenger can be. Yet I have ample amount of legroom here. More importantly, if the owner or the passenger sitting here who wants more space or more comfort, the front seat can be moved forward by here electronically. More electronic functions are available for the second row as well, because these seats, they can be reclined up to 36 degrees. More than that, the under thigh support here, the fob, can be extended forward. So the second row, it's very comfortable place to be in. You also get folding armrest here with wireless charging and cup holder as well, which is slightly hidden. It's again a party piece because on the first try you get a slot here where you can place your tablet or your smartphone, but pushing it again reveals the popping cup holders. Now apart from that, this folding armrest, it has a wireless charging pad here with some space to keep another phone, and underneath this folding armrest you get a space to keep your jewelry. I say jewelry because the space you get here, it's lined as the one you get in your jewelry box. You also get two Type-C USB ports here. Apart from that, this is a 3-seat bench, but the person sitting here won't be comfortable because this center tunnel, it takes up most of the leg room, so it's best suited for two here. You also get dual zone climate control, and you also get electric folding sunshades. But more importantly, what you also get here is a massive sunroof. Now it is a panoramic unit, but the glass doesn't open and you get a bar in between, which does hamper the overall feel of it. But when these blinds are open and when you are in motion, this feels very airy. It feels like you're sitting in a car which is much larger, and this feel, it's unmatched in my opinion. At almost 540 liters, the boot space still houses a space saver tucked underneath. However, this is not a very tall boot but has a good length to it. On the flip side, this is a fixed boot and you can't fold down the rear seats to liberate more space here for your luggage. Now we are sitting in the second row of the E-Class long wheelbase version, and as you can see, there's a lot of space on offer here. The ride quality with its sophisticated suspension system, it doesn't transfer a lot of irregularities or undulations inside the cabin. Even the harshest ones, they're barely felt inside here. So if you are attending your business meetings or attending international calls, you would be very comfortable here in the second row of the new E-Class. And now for one of those days when the owner, who usually sits behind, decides to take the wheel, they should know that the new generation E-Class is at the launch available with 3 powertrain choices. There's a petrol standard one, there's a diesel as well. Yes, Mercedes is still offering a diesel with the E-Class, and there's also a range-topping petrol which will be offered in a few weeks' time. What we're driving here is the entry-level E200, which makes use of a 2-liter 4-cylinder turbo petrol engine. Now it makes just under 200 horsepower and around 320 Newton meter. And it's paired with a 9-speed automatic with a mild hybrid, a 48-volt mild hybrid system as standard. Now as we are familiar with this engine, it's smooth, it's refined, but there is an initial delay. There is a lag before the turbo spools up. So if you are in a hurry or if you want to overtake quickly, you need to plan that, because this engine, it takes a little time to get up to speed. But once it's there, once it's in the strong, meaty mid-range, this engine is quite punchy actually. There's good amount of follow through. You can hit triple-digit speed without even you realizing. Overall, this engine, it might not be as fun to drive as say other 2-liter 4-cylinder engines or even the bigger 450, but it is a good engine to have for your everyday drivability. And even for cross-country distance touring, it won't disappoint. Now we know that Mercedes is offering their 9-speed automatic throughout their range. Now this gearbox, we are familiar with in all the other cars. It is smooth, when it shifts, there are many gears to row through. So sometimes you might find the gear just struggling to find which one to select, because it needs to find the right balance between efficiency and performance. So it sometimes struggle, and you can actually feel it jerking a bit to upshift or downshift. But otherwise, for normal city usage or even out on the highway, this gearbox would never give you any reason to complain. With a relatively small petrol engine and a larger, heavier car, I thought the E200 will be slightly uninspiring to drive. But that's not the case here, because it's got sufficiently quick acceleration when needed and never does it feel underpowered. And if the petrol is not your thing, or you definitely still want to have the diesel before they are phased out, you do have the C220 with the same 2-liter 4-cylinder diesel, which also makes a little under 200 horsepower, but the torque figures are slightly better. That might not be as punchy as say the 350 that used to be offered with the previous generation E-Class, but it will do the trick. And when the 450 comes around with its 4MATIC all-wheel drive system, that will really be a good car to enjoy if you don't want to go the other side, to the AMG side. As for the ride quality, as I mentioned when I was sitting at the back, that the sophisticated suspension system with adaptive dampers, they do absorb all the irregularities pretty nicely. You can actually go flat over the undulations, over the sharp edge creases as well, and none of it is transferred inside the cabin. It's actually so sophisticated that you might forget what speed you're doing even when going over some of the rough patches. Even going over speed breakers, you won't be bothered because it has decent amount of ground clearance. And throughout the driving, I never found myself struggling on any of the speed breakers, no matter how ill-made they were. Lastly, complementing this overall driving dynamics is the light and very comfortable steering wheel. Although it's light at city speeds or slow speeds, it does weigh up nicely when you pick up pace. and it's quite direct as well. Even if you are trying to go enthusiastically around some of the corners, you might feel some weight of the car because it is a heavier car and it's not meant to do corner carving. But even despite that, the steering, it's pretty precise and it will allow you some amount of fun if you try to go out on your Sunday drive with this E-Class. With the ever-rising demand for SUVs, the sedan body style have taken a back seat of late. But Mercedes-Benz India says that the E-Class has a huge demand in the country. Now, what works in its favor is that this generation of E-Class is the most mature one and it's also the most advanced one yet. It looks handsome, has space and practicality by its side, and it carves a midway where it is good to drive like the smaller C-Class and good to be driven in as well like the bigger S. More importantly, the E-Class is still offered with a diesel powertrain, which its direct rival, the BMW 5 Series, which was also recently updated, doesn't offer yet. On the flip side, there are a few missing feel-good features that the E-Class could have offered, such as seat ventilation and massager, a head-up display would have been nice, and the rear seat could use an entertainment screen of some kind. Also, with the S-Class like dimension and size, it might have now also become cumbersome to maneuver around crowded and narrow streets. Also, with the larger dimension, it might be a difficult task to park it for some people. And with prices starting at 78 lakh rupees for this E200, around 82 lakh rupees for the E220D, and the 4MATIC 450 going up to 92 lakh rupees ex-showroom, this is not an S-Class, I admit, but this is an S-Class at a bargain. That's all from me in this video. Hope you liked it, and if you did, do hit that like button and share this video forward who's looking to buy a mid-sized German sedan. And if you have any other questions regarding the E-Class or any other vehicle, you can write them down in the comment section below. This is Bilal signing off. Until next time.